we did see some dollar strengthening. We saw the Canadian dollar losing some ground. We saw the Aussie dollar lose some ground, but then recouping that lost ground on the latter. What do you make of the FX price action?
Morning, Anna. You're absolutely right. The reaction in the markets has been kind of muted. It's not hard to see why. Canada, Mexico and China are the biggest steel aluminum exporters to the US, as the guests just pointed out, countries against which Trump has already announced tariffs. So the effect of the latest announcement is just going to be incremental. The dollar is up today, but only modestly so. Increasingly, Anna, it feels like the dollar has priced in most of the upside from tariffs, especially if you take the view that this is all perhaps going to stop with reciprocal tariffs perhaps later this week. So despite all this, if you look at the dollar index, it's having a hard time reclaiming the 110 level that it was comfortably sitting at earlier this year. So maybe it has an upside of another 3% from current levels. But the risk-reward asymmetry is completely skewed at these levels, and the dollar is looking vulnerable to profit-taking at some point. So the risk-reward asymmetry is the key to passing the dollar from here.
Ven, good morning. I want to talk about the euro. European gas prices this morning hit a 2-year high. Are we overestimating the amount of cuts that the ECB could deliver? Does the ECB, like other central banks, and it was interesting to hear the Bank of England talk about this, does the ECB still have an inflation problem?
Well, the ECB definitely has a current inflation problem, Guy, because as you mentioned, natural gas prices have been on the rise, and that is going to worry some of the more hawkish elements on the ECB. Now, late last week, on Friday, the much-awaited report from the ECB came through on the neutral rate. And that neutral rate, it pegged the nominal neutral rate at between 175 and 225. Now, Lagarde already mentioned that range in Davos, and ever since, if you notice her messaging, it's been that, look, we need to look beyond this neutral rate report, i.e., she's kind of seems to suggest that, look, rates are not really going to go below 2%, as some in the markets are speculating. There is, in fact, if you look at the 2025 and 2025 pricing, Guy, the markets are thinking that, the ECB rate will get to 185. I don't think that's going to happen because, we've got a fair bit of policymakers on the governing council who are hawkish leaning, and they think that, anything below 2% will require an imposition of levies and tariffs of a huge scale, one that will cripple the European economy. And as we have seen, Trump is using the levy, the mention of levy, and the topic of tariffs as a bargaining tool. And on Europe, he is distinctly shown an inclination that it's going to be so. And therefore, I think that the euro will be affected positively by this.